James here. One of these 10 photos has a story that nobody in the music press ever got right. Stick around, we're getting to it. That hair, that energy, that guitar. This is Lita Ford mid-show, 15, maybe 16 years old, playing harder than most grown men on any stage in America. The Runaways get remembered as a novelty act, a marketing concept. That's the version the industry wanted you to believe. The reality is that Lita Ford was a genuinely serious guitarist from day one. She went on to prove it for the next 4 decades. The novelty was the label's idea, not hers. Next photo is someone equally misunderstood, but for completely different reasons. Blue hair, stage makeup, snake jewelry, painted guitar. This is 1973. People forget that Todd Runen was doing full theatrical glam rock while simultaneously producing some of the most technically precise studio work of the decade. He produced Bat Out of Hell. He produced Grand Funk Railroad's biggest album. He engineered and played almost everything on his own records himself. The guy in the costume was also the guy behind the console. Most people only know one half of that story. Look at Nico standing apart from the rest. That gap tells you everything. Lou Reed genuinely did not want her in the band. Andy Warhol forced the arrangement, and Reed made his feelings known regularly. Nico later said the tension was constant, that she never felt like a full member. And yet the album they made together is the one that survives. Here's my take, and I know people will push back. The friction between Reed and Nico made that record. Without the tension, there's no masterpiece. Agree or disagree? Tell me below. This looks like 2 guys playing music together. It was anything but. The Get Back sessions were falling apart around them in real time. George had already quit and come back once. Lennon was pulling away. The whole thing was dissolving. And yet here are Paul and George, heads down, just playing. What strikes me every time is how normal it looks. No drama visible. Just 2 musicians doing what they always did. Sometimes the saddest moments look the most ordinary. An old buddy and I used to argue about whether Let It Be or Abbey Road was the real goodbye. I still say Abbey Road. Where do you land? 3 years before the boys are back in town. 3 years before anyone outside Ireland and the UK knew this band existed. Phil Lynott on stage in '73, already completely in command, already moving like he owned every room he walked into. The records weren't connecting yet. The tours were scrappy. None of that is visible here. This is a man who already knew exactly what he was going to become. The next photo is 5 guys who had no idea what they were sitting on. 5 guys on a street in London, 1965. Look carefully at who's in this photo. Jeff Beck on the left, Jimmy Page on the right. Both in the same band at the same time, which almost never happened and didn't last long. The story goes the 2 guitar lineup was chaotic, that Beck and Page had completely different instincts, and the combination was almost unmanageable. Beck left shortly after. Page took what remained and eventually turned it into something else entirely. You know what that something else was. No date on this one, but the context points to the Concert for Bangladesh, 1971. Leon Russell was the one who pulled the whole musical operation together for that show. George Harrison's vision, but Russell's execution. Dylan showing up was a last-minute surprise that nobody expected. He'd been largely absent from the scene for years. Walking out on that stage in front of that crowd was one of the quieter comeback moments in rock history. Quiet, but significant. Brian Wilson signing autographs in 1964, looking slightly lost in a fur coat. This is the same year he stopped touring with the band entirely. Too much pressure, too much noise, too much of everything. The others kept going on the road. Brian stayed home and started building something in his head that would eventually become Pet Sounds. What looks like a guy struggling to keep it together is actually a guy whose mind had already moved somewhere else completely. Bob Seger taking his own photo with a camera timer in 1969. 7 years before Night Moves made him a household name. 7 years of grinding, recording, regional success that never quite broke nationally. This photo is from somewhere in the middle of all that waiting. There's something I find quietly remarkable about it. The camera is pointed at himself, but he doesn't look like someone who doubts where he's going. Early Tom Petty, before the Heartbreakers, before Damn the Torpedoes, before any of it. He moved to Los Angeles from Florida with almost nothing, and spent years being told his sound was wrong for the market. The record label he signed with went bankrupt before his first album came out. He fought his way through it anyway. This face is the face of someone who hasn't made it yet, but has absolutely decided that he will. That's the one that always gets me. 10 photos. 10 moments where the caption gives you the surface and nothing underneath. That's what keeps me going back to the vault. Which one of these surprised you most? Drop it in the comments.